Charade is artful deception.
Chaos is an unpredictable and unavoidable law of nature.
Commitment is a choice. You have to choose how far you're willing to go.
Treachery is a knife in the back, and your best friend's holding the handle. Without trust, there can't be betrayal. Without betrayal, there could not be revenge.
Do not let others define who you are. A new beginning may be the key to a successful ending.
Revenge is the mother of all story engines for me. The idea of what's been stolen from you, a loss of love and family, and that betrayal are such strong motivators for any protagonist.
In terms of the source material, The Count of Monte Cristo was the springing off point and the pitch.
I was a huge fan of the book, and I felt like this was a real opportunity to bring the nighttime soap opera back. And what a great playground for some really interesting characters to get nasty with each other.
Get away from my son! Daniel!
For me, where the show is, at its core, it's more opera than soap opera.
Welcome to the Hamptons.
We needed a place for royalty, the playground for the rich. And in the United States, I guess, it doesn't get any more over the top than what happens in the summer in the Hamptons.
So tell me, who is who?
What the Hamptons provides is that sense of wish fulfillment, of a place where we would all love to have a summer home.
It's such an exclusive world. It lends itself well to having that fantasy quality that we go for because a lot of people haven't been there and we can kind of make it our own.
I think the Hamptons is just full of intrigue. Wealthy people with lots of problems. I don't know, I think that's a recipe for an interesting plot.
And of course, situated comfortably in the royalty section, we have Conrad Grayson and
Her Majesty.
Class dismissed.
It's just the perfect backdrop for this kind of story. Revenge in itself is just kind of a sexy theme, a dark theme, twisted, you know, so you need the location to kind of parallel that. Always be prepared. The best laid plans are sure to reap the greatest rewards.
Here we go. Yes, and action.
Because the pilot opens with a flash forward to the shooting on the beach, we obviously knew that that's where we were headed.
Pilots are always very exciting. You're out there a bit without a net, and you're not sure whether these elements are going to come together and work right.
Action!
It's Jack Porter.
What Philip Noyce was able to do with the pilot in the first episode, I mean, really established what this show should be, what it should look like, how people should act, how people should behave.
Well, the major challenge in shooting the pilot for Revenge was recreating the Hamptons in Wilmington, North Carolina.
That was a great backdrop for the Hamptons because you have some very similar coastlines and houses and that sort of moneyed summer beach community.
And back crowd!
Action!
No one is to approach the head table unless they're escorted by either myself or Mrs. Grayson. I cannot stress how important that seating chart is. Got it?
Got it.
Good.
I think shooting in North Carolina gave the cast a real chance to bond because nobody was from there. We were all on location, so it kind of felt like a holiday town.
Actual words together?
With Philip's visuals and with the actors really gelling, you just knew, you got that little feeling like, I think this one might work.
Look for the truth in first impressions. There's always more to a person than they let on.
What was most important is that we understood the relationship between Emily and Victoria, first of all, because that is going to be what we hang the rest of the story on.
May I ask you, what is it about me that troubles you so much?
Call it maternal instinct. She knows something is very, very wrong there because she sees herself.
One of the qualities that you love about Emily is how she plays the girl next door. I think that where she needed to prove herself was how bad of an ass kicker she could become.
I am not a martial artist, so I've been practicing all week.
Fukushu means revenge in Japanese. When she decided to start revenge, I trained her mentally, physically.
The task in front of you requires absolute focus.
Gave her advice about the strategy.
If you let your emotions guide you, you will fail.
To see the inside of her, that she's this kind of steely, determined, driven, cold-blooded badass, is fun because she really gets to play both sides of it, and that's really the show.
You know who you remind me of? Victoria.
Victoria's wit and her caginess is so profound. She can just turn on a dime.
Well, that was quick thinking. Maybe your time in the juvenile detention facility will end up being an asset in Daniel's court case.
The funny thing about the show is that Victoria and Emily are exactly the same.
I promise you Emily Thorne is no cocktail waitress.
I'm not interested in what she's not. I want to know who she is.
At their core, they're both incredibly lonely people. And there's something tragic about that.
You really don't trust her, do you?
Trust is the one luxury I cannot afford.
People who have very dark thoughts are very quick to assess the dark thoughts of others, and that's the way I look at her.
Make allies. Those you surround yourself with will bring you strength. The 25th year in the marriage of the Hamptons' most perfect couple.
The Grayson family is most concerned with their position in what they consider to be the world around them.
It's very Shakespearean in terms of how a family is depicted. One child arrested for murder,
And the other can't look at us without contempt. Divorced, but living under the same roof.
You know, the idea of family, frankly, is it permeates the whole thing. I mean, it's what the destruction of a family is what started this. And so when Nolan and Emily meet, we immediately wanted this to feel like a brother and sister. They love each other at the core, and they share a common bond with love for Emily's father, the de facto father for Nolan.
Let me guess, working on your wedding invite list.
A lot of his language and his perspective on things comes from being an outsider. And as a writer, we're all pretty geeky, outsidery observers.
What now? Cross-reference it with the Grayson Christmas card list?
But the perfect episode to me combines the revengey elements and the emotion, always coming back to kind of the heart.
Emily Thorne, will you marry me?
Yes.
So love, I guess, at the center of it has to be there between Nolan and Emily, between Jack and Declan, between even Victoria and her children. There has to be at the core of it love.
Go with him.
What?
I am serious. Sail away. Fall in love. Go make little volunteer babies.
You know I can't do that.
Jack is a character that we do try to protect in a way because he does sort of represent the anchor of humanity in the show and in the series.
Look, this came for you today. I know you're already in pain, so I thought I'd just pile it on all at once. What these people are fighting for and what they're surrounded by is just as real for anybody watching. These people are fighting for their homes, their families, and their loves. It's their legacy.
People that appear to be good are yet very conniving and secretive. So I feel like everyone gets to embody all parts of human nature throughout the show.
Be careful of those you cross along the way, for you may find yourself with even greater enemies.
The biggest rule in revenge is that the punishment has to fit the crime. That rule is the most important.
Well, so what are you gonna do next?
I'm gonna marry him. And I'm gonna track down the man who killed my father.
And what are you gonna do when you find him?
I'm gonna kill him.
The theme of betrayal, I think, is really strong as well. There's almost an epicness to the betrayal that happens in revenge.
All these characters have an agenda. That's revenge. It's built upon that. Everyone's protecting something, everyone has a secret, everyone is up to something behind someone's back.
It's always this kind of chess game of who stands where, who's got the power, and what's gonna happen next, and it's always unpredictable.
I'm trying to say thank you. You have no idea the doors you opened up for me.
Emily's really not just the one seeking revenge. It's Victoria seeking revenge against Conrad, and it's Charlotte seeking revenge against her family, and it's Nolan's got his own reasons for doing what he's doing. But there's an underlying theme in the show all across the board of revenge.
Remain adaptable. The inability to change direction is a sure way to defeat.
What
What's on the revenge agenda this evening?
The writers are really good at resolving questions, but at the same time creating new questions when they resolve them.
Let's read it through since things have changed since 10 o'clock last night.
I like that it's always changing. It means we can be quite responsive to what the audience think and what the actors like and what looks like it's working well on screen.
I'd like to make a toast to Daniel's birthday and the entire Grayson family. I grow fonder of all of you every day.
And I realized the best way to show how much I love you was to not buy you anything. It's a memory book, a collection of photos and stories of every summer we've ever spent here since you were a boy.
How inventive.
Okay, and then we're gonna add a line where Emily says, I'm gonna go get the cake.
Sometimes going down like a weird deviation, a tangent, is when you find the best stories. There's been a lot of points where we're like, wouldn't it be crazy if this happened? And then, oh my gosh, we end up shooting it. And we're like, that was a really bad idea at first, but somehow it turned into revenge.
On other shows, you know, you'll be pitching in the room and you'll be like, okay, crazy pitch, what if blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we obviously can't do that. On this show, you can do it. What if Victoria pretends she was raped? What if Amanda hits him with a tire iron and kills him? Frank? On this show, and we can do it.
Frank, are you there? Okay, the door is open. What else can Emily do? She should burn somebody's house down. And so we have the lead of our series, incredibly charismatic and charming, torching historic cottages and burning people's original manuscripts, and it makes me happy.
And we're so excited to get each script and just see what we get to play around with next week, you know?
Just demented, but so great. So, I mean, there are literally some days on this show where I just cannot stop laughing. People think I've lost my mind, but something just hits my funny bone about these situations and really, truly how twisted people with too much money can be.
I drove my children to summer camp loaded on painkillers and vodka.
I think that the show is fun and it taps into something that we kind of have in all of us. We wish we could say that. We wish we could do that. We never could, but they can. And so it's fun to see them do it.
Let me out of here so that we can talk. Please let me out of here.
Trust your instincts. When the stakes are at their highest, victory is not far behind.
Bringing all these pieces together is not easy. It's by far the most complicated show I've ever been involved in. And satisfying, you know. There are so many moving pieces, and you want to make sure that you've covered them all and put them just where they were meant to be.
Mike always says revenge wants what revenge wants. It's like the show has taken on a life of its own.
I've always said that Revenge seemed to be a project that wanted to be on the air. So rather than stand in its way, I just hopped on board the train and rode it on.
They say vengeance taken will tear the heart and torment the conscience. If there's any truth to it, then I now know with certainty that the path I'm on is the right one.